Hey, welcome to this new project, or I should say revised project. This tutorial is a revised version of the one I posted a few years back. Pixlr has updated, so I'm going to create a new one. The project is called New Species, and if you just Google New Species in Photoshop, which is the popular software like the one we're going to use, you'll see some new species that were created. They're pretty funny, like bird with bunny rabbit ears, horse with a bird face, and so on. So you're going to do a similar type thing, and hopefully get some skills with creating like new fun Photoshop projects. Okay, so it's called New Species. The program we're going to use is called Pixlr. Pixlr. It's spelled Pixlr, which is interesting, right? And actually, if you've never used it before, it'll come up like this. And you have two choices. You have a Pixlr E and a Pixlr X. We're going to use the more advanced version, which is going to be Pixlr E. Now, Pixlr E, when you sign in with your Google, should appear like this. And right now I have my latest projects below, as you can see. And then below that, I'll have some recommended templates. Pretty cool. On the left-hand side, you have also templates. You have a plus button to get started, or you can get started here in the middle. Don't click anything just yet. First thing we're going to do is search for two animal parts, right? A body and a head. So you need to think ahead of what you might be wanting to create. So for this example, I'm going to create using a giraffe body and a horse head. So I'm going to click on images after I search Google. Before you go ahead and download a picture or anything, pay close attention. One thing you never want to do is you never want to save an image from the Google thumbnails. This makes a small picture, and it's very poor quality picture. Google recreates the picture for this little carousel, and so what you're going to do instead is you're going to first go to Tools, click on Size and Large, because it's going to present to you larger pictures. But no, these are not large yet, but it's going to present to you larger images on the internet from search. Still, these are small. What you're going to do is choose one by clicking on it. This picture on the right is the official sized picture for the most part, most of the time. So you're going to go and try to extract from, say, one of these. And notice the size of the picture. You can see it here when you hover, 1180 over 842. Okay, anything over 1,000 is good on at least one end, and if it's less than that, it's not going to be good. If you're having trouble finding those, you then need to make sure you did the size large piece, right? So I'll do that one more time. You go to Tools, Size Large, and you'll get larger pictures. Okay, so I'm looking at some choices here that are similar to the one I first clicked. I kind of like this one. This one has 1,000 plus on one side, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it. One method is to download, right? Save an image. You guys probably have done that in the past. Copy doesn't work in what we're about to do. Okay? What we're going to do is copy image address. Yes, image address. Because this feature of Pixlr has load URL, which is really convenient and recent. So my old tutorial doesn't have this, and that's kind of why I made a new one. And you're going to paste, which is Control V on your keyboard. Okay, Control V as in victory. Control V, paste it in there, and you go ahead and load it. Wow. So if you've downloaded the picture into your downloads, you could instead have done open image, and it would have been from your computer, and you would have been done it that way. But we cut a major corner. We just loaded it straight from Google, or from the internet. Okay, so which is kind of cool. All right. So here we have the giraffe. Now we need to go fetch our horse head. So I'm going to go horse head. Well, or, you know, images, remember, tools, size, large. Now there are some horse heads here that we might want to choose. If that's difficult to find, then just choose horse. You know, what you want is a head that faces a correct direction, right? You want it to match the giraffe's positioning, right? So one that's facing you or to the right in this case, never left, right? So I'm gonna find one like this one here, the first one, because the head faces to the right. The one that faces forward works too. I kind of like this one right here, so I think I'm gonna try this one here. I noticed that it says 1200, so that's larger than 1000 on the bottom left here when I hover, so that's a good picture. Again, I could right click save image, but I'm not going to do that today. Instead, I'm going to choose copy image address, because Pixlr has a wonderful feature for layer. Okay, before we did, you know, open from URL. This time we're going to go layer, add image, or sorry, add URL as layer. Control V for paste. I'm going to load that in there as well. So we have two pictures, and notice how I can click and move this one around. So your goal here is to get two images into this here project. And you can see we have two layers on the right hand side here. Okay, layers like you would have, you know, two pieces of paper on a desk, one on top of the other. Well, if I can show you, they are also on the right hand side under layers, and you can select between them. You can turn off one layer or the other temporarily. You can also, you know, delete if you want, trash it. You can hit the delete key on your keyboard if you want. You can play around with transparencies and so forth. Okay, so right now we need to make sure we have two images, one on top of the other. Next, you're going to want to try to make the horse head the same size-ish of the head underneath, right? So naturally you can tell that there's a little square over here that will allow you to shrink it down, which is real nice. Okay, so it shrinks it up and shrinks it down. Alright, so now we're going to put this horse head the right size to fit. Now I'm having trouble seeing behind. So notice when I went over to these three dots, I have a transparency lever. If I pull that down, it'll allow me to see underneath and allow me to make it bigger and or smaller to fit over that head right there. Okay, I kind of like that. I'm going to close my transparency menu here. See, close that. And, oh, sorry. I'm going to bring my transparency back up to full. Bring it back up to full. That way I can then proceed with my next step. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to erase around this horse's head. I want to erase around the horse's head so that it reveals what's behind it. Over on the left hand side here, I have several tools to play with. I'm going to show you the most easiest or foundational tool you can use. And there it is, the eraser. The eraser, okay, is a brush. It's a brush like any other brush you would think of, like with colors, but it's an eraser. You can change the size of the eraser, the soft edges or not, okay? So I'm going to leave it right there on the edges. I'm going to create a kind of that size. And now I'm going to erase around my horse. Look at that. Now, I don't want to do is I don't want to erase too fast or too much. In this case, It's okay to erase the body, but I don't want to erase the head and the tongue, right? So I'm going to kind of do this and be careful around the rest of the horse. So I'll do it over here. I can do it all naturally. If I make a mistake, whoops, I can use the Edit Undo button. If I make a mistake, instead of Edit Undo, I can use this keystroke here called Control and Z. Any keystroke you can learn along the way. Control Z is undo and is my best friend, because I can Control Z and it goes back to what I did previously. If I erase here and erase here and erase here, that's worth 1, 2, 3 undos. So anytime you lift your mouse, that's worth an undo. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is continue erasing around, all right, without messing up. And if you do, just click undo. When you get closer to the horse, I recommend your scroll wheel on your mouse zooming in and using the edge of your brush and clicking ever so carefully. What do I mean by clicking ever so carefully? Allows you to make a quick mistake, undo it, and continue on. Whereas if you erase very carefully, and then you spend about 10 minutes and then you go, whoops, that's going to undo all that work. So if you click, 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 you're giving yourself more undos to play with. So I'm going to click on, click on, click on, use the edge of my brush. I could make my brush smaller because I want to be a little bit more precise. Alright, so a smaller brush is usually better. And you can just erase. Okay? So erase away the background of this original horse head. Now, you're going to wonder, what do I do? What do I do when I come across all this hair? Because erasing around the hair is really hard, because I'm going to try to make my brush small. I'm going to try to get in every little crevice, and it's not going to be pretty. So how am I going to do this more efficiently? There is a special tool over here called the Magic Wand. The Magic Wand Select. Ooh, it's a lot of fun because it's magic, and it auto-magically selects all this area that is not the horse or horsehair. It doesn't do a terrific job. As you can see, sometimes it selects some of the hair when it shouldn't, and so on. Okay? And that's okay. You could accept it by clicking the delete key, not backspace, the delete key on your keyboard, and move on. Or, I'm going to undo. You can change how strong that tolerance is. So when you select your region, it may be more aggressive and get more of the hair, or it may be more gentle and get much less of the hair. So I could select any region, and notice it didn't select very much, right? It didn't select all of this area in there. So you're going to have to try, and look, it didn't even select some of the cloud there. You're going to have to try a few times changing this level of attack or tolerance. All right, so you have to re-click. That's too much. Yeah, 100 is way too much. I'm going to back it off, and usually you have to select away and select back. There we go, and get a little bit better selection. Still, I think that's too much. You will also be able to do select from the menu, deselect, to turn off that selection. See? And then you can reselect. Okay, boom, there it is, and click delete. This magic wand only works if your background, remember your background is kind of plain. And if you don't have a picture that has a plain background, you might have to choose another picture to benefit from this magic wand tool. So you could delete your layer, get another, add layer URL, and start over a little bit, and you should be good. So I'm going to continue on deleting my areas that are the sky. You can do this too. I like my tolerance. I'm going to leave that alone. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's better than having to erase it. Now, if I want to clean it up, get in there. If I want to clean it up, I would have to make these ants disappear, which is select, deselect, or Control D on your keyboard. So there are no more ants. And then I can take my eraser and continue on. If you don't deselect and get rid of those ants, you won't be able to erase. Allow me to demonstrate. One more time. Let's say I select this area right here and I got ants. And I go to get my eraser and I want to erase here. It won't work. You're going to be frustrated and say, hey, Mr. Murphy, I can't erase anymore. And what I'm going to do is say, do you have any ants kicking around? So you're going to do select, deselect, make the ants disappear. Now you can erase, oops. Now you should be able to erase. And I found a glitch just now. A glitch is when the program or software isn't behaving correctly. There's something wrong with the program or the software. So, and this happens every single time now that I've tested when I do select, deselect, and try to go back to my eraser. All right, so let's get through this glitch. I can't erase anymore. Update. I just found a solution, okay? This is what troubleshooting does. The solution is click on the brush tool, and all I did was brush a white spot on them. I undid it, Control Z, and now I'm going to go to my eraser again, and it seems like it's working again. So there you have it. You're going to have hiccups like that you're going to struggle with. Sometimes just poking around and getting the program to get going again. So here we are. I'm back in business. I'm going to continue erasing my horse's head. I think my brush is too small, so I'm going to go ahead and enlarge it again and kind of decide, all right, I would like to keep the tongue and the chin and maybe a little bit of this chin hair. So I'm going to go here with my eraser, right, because you want to keep some of that, I think, chin hair. And you do not want to have too much of this mane kicking around. And I might have to get creative here. Okay, what I mean by creative is create a break in the hair so it's not all straight like that. So I might just do erase backwards a couple times. Nope. Smaller brush. I'm going to use a smaller brush and kind of make it look like the hair, you know, it's just flowing there. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think, well, sorry. I'm going to just erase a little bit more, I think, here. Notice how it looks very jagged, the smaller brush you make. Consider making your brush bigger and using the edges to unjagged the, okay. I think that's what I'm going to leave it at. No, I don't like that. I'm going to take that off. All right, so I could sit here all day and try to make it perfect. I'll leave that up to you guys for yours. I don't like this, the lingering white that I see there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my magic wand, and I'm going to go in there and try to select that white areas with a lower tolerance, I think, because I don't want it to be so strong. Let's see, something like that. And I'm going to try to work through some of those white and gray areas that I'm just not happy with. It's gonna be a little challenging. Again, if you have a good picture, like I said, one with 1,000 or better, this will be easier for you. If you have a picture, you can see the pixels are not as good as I'd like them to be. So I should have gotten a better picture to work with in this case, but I didn't. And I'm going to kind of accept that now, because if you zoom out, you can barely tell. All right, so I have my ants, and I want to select, deselect again, and I want to get my eraser and see if my eraser still works. It does. So the glitch did not come back. All right, finally, I have my erased head. I can turn it off and on again. I could move it. Note that when I move it, I still have picture parts over here, so I have to deal with. So be careful if you have to move or resize. So just be careful of that. You know, if you erased, you forgot this part. You gotta fix that. All right. So next, we notice that the giraffe still has these ears, and then we have the horse ears. So how are we gonna handle that situation? I'm gonna share with you some advanced Photoshop or Pixlr technique. All right. So the technique is this: we need to figure out how to erase the ears without erasing the whole picture and having some sky. Well, let's see. First of all, let's turn off the horse head for a second. Let's look at the background. If I go with my eraser to the background, it's not. So what happens is, first of all, it turns white. That's not good. So what we need to do is we need to trick the computer to think that there is, trick the world into thinking there is a sky behind this ear, because there's no way we can see that sky using just layer erasing. So the trick is this tool. It's called the clone tool. So another one of my favorites. Cloning is a lot of fun. I'm going to show you a quick example. If I shift click, say, the nose here, and then I come over here, I can clone another head. Ooh, look at that. It's kind of fun. Control Z, undo. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to clone some of the sky over the ear. And this is going to be done like this. Shift click on the sky, and then we're going to use that area that we selected and paint it onto the ear to make the ear disappear. Now, I want to point out that it looks kind of fuzzy there, not good. You can try again from another section, or like I could shift click here and then come over here and kind of try, different shift click over here and paint some over here. Okay, so I could do that. All right. So you want to do is shift click a similar area and go ahead and draw. Shift click here and draw here, because sky is very random, very random. So I'm gonna dip my brush, which is shift, right, in a new spot and try to find some, white cloud, and there. Shift click over here, bring it back here. I'm kind of painting new clouds. All right, and lastly, I noticed that my, well, actually, let's turn it on. See, ear's gone. Lastly, I noticed that the sky doesn't look very random enough. It looks blotchy. It looks like I did it with a paintbrush. So we're going to fix that by using the smudge tool. We're going to just smooth it around a little bit. And the smudge tool is right over here. Okay, the blur, sharpen, smudge. Blur, sharpen, smudge. We're going to go to smudge. And we're going to smudge that around. What I mean by smudge is it just drags the pixels around and kind of makes them, makes them all kind of smooth. It's like taking your finger and smudging chalk on a chalkboard. You just kind of put your finger down and smudge it around. So we're going to make wisps in the sky. All right, so it doesn't look too much like I used my brush, you know. So smudge, 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 smudge. You're gonna smudge around, kind of clean that up. And when you turn your horse head back on, it looks pretty cool. All right, last thing we want to do is notice that the horse head color doesn't kind of match too well with the giraffe body. That last step is an adjustment. We're going to make an adjustment from the adjustment menu. Hold on one second. We're going to make sure we select the horse head. There we go. Not the background. Select the horse head, and we're going to go to adjustment, and we're going to make some adjustments. Well, I'm going to start with hue and saturation. Okay, hue is like your colors, saturation's black and white versus lots of saturation, you know. I'm going to do the hue, and I'm going to tilt the hue to the right to make it a yellowish color and less of a red, right? I'm going to make it like a yellowish color. See the yellows pull inside there so that it looks more like it belongs to the giraffe. Pretty cool, right? So we're adjusting this hue and saturation, and you click apply. You can do a little bit more adjustment by going in and maybe trying the color balance. So we have red, greens, and blues. We have shadows, midtones, highlights. Start with the midtones. Always start with the midtones. And see if you can try a little red. Nope. Go back the other way. Starting to look sick. Yeah. Trying maybe a little green. This could get overwhelming if you pull too much, too far, right? So it's like purple. You can make a purple color one. So you kind of just play around with the small little adjustments. You can hit cancel and forget about it. You can hit apply and then look at it and go, I changed my mind, and use Control Z, right? Control Z and undo. One more adjustment maybe I would do is under brightness and contrast. I can change the darkest and lightnesses of it and contrasts, because it might be that one is more of an outside look versus an inside look, and you just kind of play around with those two right there. Very subtle, because you want them to look similar. You click apply. All right. Now, for some of you, you have animals with hair and so forth that combine like a lion and a cat, or a lion and a dog, or whatever. And there is a technique for bringing hair to match and kind of flow with the other animal. There is a problem or a glitch in this program that doesn't allow it. So if you're on Photoshop and the other advanced programs, the glitch is not there. So I'm not going to recommend you try this now, but I'm going to show you the magic trick, which is using the smudge tool. Basically what I would do is I would go to the horse's head, and I would smudge the head hair onto the giraffe and kind of blend it in. But look what happens here. This is a glitch that should not exist, but does exist here in Pixlr. And I'm not very happy with that. But Pixlr is a free program, like I said, and it's online. You can use it with a Chromebook, and I'm very happy to introduce it to you. So this is what for first project tool that's going to work. If you get into Photoshop and such, I would smudge that in. All right. And next, I'm going to show you how to save. Okay, saving a project and file for turning in is way different than saving it just for saving. So this is what we're going to do. Notice if you go to File, Save, you're going to get a JPEG, PNG options. Okay, the PXZ is a project. If your computer crashed, you can't find the file, whatever, this backup project file is going to save you, because it's going to keep your background and foreground layers, and you can continue working. But for turning it in or putting it on Instagram or sending it to a friend and, you know, a text message, they won't be able to open it. So instead you're going to do save, okay, and you have JPEG or PNG. My favorite is PNG. Choose PNG. Obviously save it and call it my horse, which is my new species. And I'm going to make sure that it's a PNG. Download, and I'm gonna make sure it's in my downloads folder, and I'm gonna make sure it says Jorse, and I'm gonna click save. Alright, and next you're gonna turn that into Schoology and get your credits. Alright, hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.